In the mid-'80s, I was part of the design team for the expansion of the Cincinnati Convention Center, and I was working with the CRS group out of Houston, who were the lead designers on it. I was working with BHDP Architecture locally, and when we did our schematic design presentation on the convention center to about 20 different departments from the city, after the meeting, Genevieve Ray, who was the urban conservator, came over to me and was sharing with me some of her comments. And she happened to mention to me, gee, it's a shame we couldn't find a use for the Albee Arch on this building, a major public building. So I thought it was an interesting idea. The Albee had been demolished earlier, but the city had the foresight to preserve part of the classic facade of the building, and it was in a storage yard down on the riverfront. So I went to Mark McKillop, who was the project manager for the city, and asked him if we could consider this. And about 2 days later, he sent me drawings that were done at the time the demolition was took place, that showed how to reconstruct the arch. Well, I went to Houston and met with the CRS team and introduced the idea to them, and they weren't too warm about it initially, but a couple days later I got a call from them, and they had embraced the idea, and they were looking at how to put it on the building, but they said it was completely out of scale with the building, that it was way shorter than the height of the convention center, and it just seemed out of place. And I realized that they were looking at drawings of the arch that weren't the facade of the building, and I pointed out to them that what they were looking at sat above the marquee in front of the theater. It was not sitting on the ground. And when they realized that they could raise the whole element and put it up on a podium, it made perfect sense. So they worked it into a model. It was beautiful. Everybody got excited about it. Everybody was afraid of the cost of trying to reconstruct this facade on the convention center, and there were caveats all along the way that we couldn't let it blow the budget. But at the same time, even though the project had budget concerns and there were numerous cuts that were made along the way, somehow the Albee Arch survived. And when it was finally put in place and the building was dedicated, there was a movement around the city to try and convince the city to change the direction of Plum Street, because Plum Street flows away from the convention center to the south instead of north toward the arch, and everybody wanted to be able to drive down the street and actually see this piece of Cincinnati history that we'd restored to its original beauty on the face of the convention center.